mind if I read those?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. This is Scott Jordan. You're watching live here at Cellars of Sonoma in Santa Rosa, California. TV Tuesday Live. I've got Ted Elliott from TR Elliott Wines here. And I asked a question before the break, what are legs? There were 4 answers. A, the lines a wine leaves on your glass. B, the aging potential of a wine. C, another name for pits and stems. Not sure what they meant by that. And D, a winemaking additive. Yeah, Dan says A. You better say A. Well, you can see the lines, you can see the legs on this wine. And I haven't swirled this in the glass in a while. And man,
they're still there.
Look at that. They're still there, Andy. Right. Take a shot of that. You get, and look at the legs coming down on that baby.
Yeah, that's a good.
So really, it's the alcohol that's.
Well, there's a lot of things that it could be alcohol. There's a lot of. It just means you've got long polymers, in my mind, and that means it's going to have some texture and some richness.
And it surely has that.
It got that, and it can be. A lot of things can make that happen, but it's a good thing. It means you've got a wine with some substance.
God, I love that. We have a question from the audience. Let's go ahead. Tell me that question. Okay, that's a great question. The question is, it's from Dan. Dan, good to hear from you. How long will you use a barrel before you move it on to somebody else's?
Okay, that is a great question. And if I could go back to the wine that we're tasting, Scott, the wine that is in this glass has seen a barrel that is 1 year old. So this is the second time.
Now, is it a barrel then that you've purchased from someone that only used it a year? Because in your program, you're really not using brand new oak, right?
I'm using brand new oak on the next 2 wines.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead.
So I have a process where we haven't tasted these wines, Cuesta and Burgonet. These are slightly bigger wines, and they have a different body feel. Okay. So I will use the barrel first for these next wines.
Okay.
In the second year, I'll use it on this where I'm trying to capture the aromatics, and I don't, and the oak influence is really would be detrimental. Then there's 1 year left in the barrel, in my view. Usually I will use them 3 times.
Okay.
So we have 3 years for our barrels.
And then you're, what, selling them off to a smaller winery or somebody that has a different program, maybe?
Good question.
Or Home Depot, where they cut them in half, make planters out of them.
It's really bizarre to think that this barrel, which cost us over $1,000,
yes,
is only worth $20 at the end of 3 years. But most of the market for our used barrels go to landscape people. And however, if anyone out there is starting a winery and wants a 4-year-old barrel, we've got very good ones for it.
Yeah, there you go. But it lends it to another point in the boutique wine market that you're dealing with, because you don't get the advantage of the KJs of the world or the Gallos of the world, or even some wineries in between that are buying, 15,000 barrels. They're going to get a much better price point than you're ever going to get when you're buying, 10.
Right.
Right.
And I wish it was another way, Scott.
Yeah, but it's
not.
And people have to really understand that your margin and profit of your business is really small. Because of those component costs, because the glass is so expensive, because you pay more for the labels and the foil and corks, right? Because you're just not buying giant amounts.
Giant boatloads.
Yeah.
And usually the small producers, Scott, as you know from everyone here, tend to not compromise.
No, so, they're here. They're here because they didn't compromise.
Right.
Yeah, there's no question about that.
So if we stick on the barrel profile for a moment, that wouldn't be... I don't think anybody in your tasting room would use anything except a real oak barrel to age their wine in.
That's right.
But if you have a huge product list, you can age these in stainless steel and put in oak chips inside that to get the same flavor.
Right.
But it doesn't age wine the same way.
Right.
So that was a good starting point. Barrels are quite expensive.
Oh yeah. So this is Questy. First of all, the name Questy. What led you to that?
Well, you have to know that I was corrected. As I told you, I was in Manhattan this last week, And I ran across a French sommelier that purchased my wine for his restaurant, and he knew immediately that that was a French word, and it is, and it should be pronounced ket. And he recognized it as a 13th century spelling.
Really?
Yeah. And I knew that too, but in California, because, and it looks so much like Quest, and it means my quest for the perfect bottle of wine, I've always called it Quest. However, ket, it's borrowed from a French book published in the 13th century, translates into English the quest for the Holy Grail, La Questa del San Graal. And it's the story, it's one of those Arthurian legends of, in this case, Percival, looking for the Holy Grail. When he finally finds it, he disappears. But Pinot Noir is always considered the Holy Grail of wine. Very hard to grow for a lot of reasons, and also very hard to make. So that's why I call it.
So if somebody comes in here from France and busts us, we're going to have to go,
if someone comes in here and asks for ket, you give them a bottle on the house.
You heard it.
You got it. Anybody out there knows this is a French word from the 13th century gets a bottle. They got to walk in the door to collect it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So the Questy, what's different about the wine program, and you're pulling from select barrels that are from 2 single vineyards, right?
Right. So now we're going uphill, though. We started at the bottom where it's a little cooler, and I've taken some of this and put it in our middle in this wine, the ket that we're having. Also taken some from the top. So we've blended all the vineyards. So this would represent a Russian River, the best attempt that T.R. Elliott can make of a Russian River Pinot Noir, because it includes all parts of the vineyard. Its component that's different from this is we've got new oak barrels. We were talking a lot about oak. So there'll be a little bit more tannins in this wine.
No doubt.
From the oak barrels. There's also going to be a little more structure. Should be a little finish in here from a clone that is not in here, the 777. And your aromatics are getting a little bit more earthier and that sort of thing.
No doubt. And you can tell in the color of the wine as well.
It's a year younger. A year older. So we're going to have some difference attributed to year. Let's get on with some quiz.
Let me get a question out, and then we'll take a break and we'll be right back. Those of you watching live, we're not going anywhere. We just stopped our recording. But let me ask a question on the break here. Common flavors and aromas in a Pinot Noir are A, cherries, raspberries, earthiness. B, floral, prunes, licorice. C, mango, pineapple. D, green pepper, tomato, and olive. So 4 choices. What are the common flavors and aromas you'd find in Pinot Noir? We'll talk about that. We'll take a break. Scott Jordan, you're watching live here at Cellars of Sonoma.